Okay, now we have the database, and first thing we need dimensions, right? And we would like to start with the static dimensions, where I really type in everything manually. I go in the modeler to dimensions, and with the right mouse, I say new. And I give the new dimension a name, and for this sample, we build the channel dimension. And I click OK. And I have the empty dimension channel available.
And you could have entered a description. I saw there was a description in
Right,
that field.
yeah, I was a little bit too fast.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, if my colleagues don't know what channel is, they probably shouldn't be my colleagues anymore. So,
if you remember this and you want to adjust this, no problem. You can go to channel dimension properties, and you say here foobar was here, for example. And there your colleagues knew you are here, you did something, you created this, so you can enter your description. And when I go back to the tab elements, I see currently nothing because nothing is there. So now I can either use the enter key or I can use this plus sign here for adding a new element. And we call this element all channels.
Ah, okay.
And with the enter key, there it is. So this is our first element. And you see, the type is 1, 2, 3 numeric base element. Even if it's called all channels, it implies that we want to use this as a roll-up element. We talked about this, but it's the first element in the dimension. So there is no parent available. So this is automatically a base element. If I enter and create the second element, fax, phone, mail, this is again a base element, but I would like to have this here as a child element of all channels, so that all channels is automatically turned into a consolidated.
Okay, and so that's how you're setting up your hierarchy.
Exactly.
So the system doesn't know what you're going to be setting up where, and this is how you're going to tell it what goes where.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. The system doesn't know what is all channels. The system doesn't know what is fax, phone, mail. So I have to tell the system now, fax, phone, mail should become or should get a new additional parent. So it could be already assigned to a parent.
Okay, that's why the additional in parentheses.
Right. And then I have a selection here. You should not use the same element, yeah. So you should use something that makes sense, and in this case, all channels should become the parent element. So if all channels, and this is actually the case we have here, if all channels is currently a base element, the system at least asks you, are you sure you want to turn this now from a base to an consolidated? Because if it was a base element before and you store data, you're going to lose the data.
Ah, that's right. Like you said with the setup in the cube with the different dimensions, that it was only stored on the base level.
Correct.
The consolidated ones were calculated as you go or on the fly. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and when I say OK, the system shows us now the right order, the right hierarchy we wanted to have. And if I select fax, phone, mail now, and I hit enter, at least the system is smart here at this and thinks, if I'm at this level, I would like to create a new element online shop, and this is automatically assigned to all channels as a child element.
Okay.
If I would like to have a sibling to all channels, and we create now the final one, walk in, and there we are. So we have a nice dimension channel. We have 4 elements, where 3 elements are base elements consolidated into all channels. That's all.
Okay, yeah, that was done quickly. I'm not planning to type in everything, but it's nice to know that it is just as easy as being able to do so. Okay, good. I feel good about this.
One thing we can add here is when you have your cube ready, finally, and you can do this adding of dimension during runtime. So you can always add a new element, like test, for example, even if the cube is in memory, and users are selecting the data there. You can add the element during runtime. You don't have to process something.
Okay.
The only thing you should avoid is what I do now. You should avoid the deletion of this
Okay.
element, because then you really drop all the data from all cubes where data is stored. Remember the base cells.
Okay. Yeah, gotta remember the base cells. That's where I need to be careful. That's where my data is. I don't
Correct.
want to mess up my data.